Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new video where I'm gonna be telling you about the best and worst books I read in 2025. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you about my favorite books that I read this year, 5 books, and actually I had like exactly five-star books, so I guess that made my job easier because I didn't really have to like pick between my favorites or like add any books that weren't 5 stars because I had exactly five stars. And then I'm gonna be telling you about 3 books that were disappointing. So they weren't exactly like my least favorites, but I expected to love them and I just didn't. And I'll also tell you about my 5 least favorite books. I'm actually gonna start with the least favorite, then go to disappointing, and then just, leave the best for last. And so starting off with my least favorite books that I read this year. So the first book is definitely like my least favorite book I read this year and also probably my least favorite book I've ever read. And I read this one for like my romance video, like from the ones that my friend chose for me to read. And she specifically chose this book for me to hate because she also hated it. And great job, because I did hate it. And that was Blood and Sin, and it's the first book in the Infernari series, and it is romance and like fantasy romance because we're following Lana and she is an Infernarus, which is basically a demon, and we also follow Asher, who is a demon hunter, and basically he catches her while she's saving like a friend, like another demon that he had caught. And he hates all demons, but obviously there's like something special, something different about her. And they go on like a quest together to find a portal to like her place, her home. And they obviously have like different goals of what they will do when they find that portal. And during their time together, they somehow fall in love. Honestly, couldn't tell you why, because like I hated Asher like the whole book. Like there was not a single moment where not only like did I like him, but also there wasn't a moment where I didn't absolutely hate him. And Lana, she was just like an idiot, to be honest. And like the ending was terrible. It was even worse than the rest of the book. And I hated everything. I hated this book with a passion. Just thinking about this book honestly makes me angry. So yeah, I hated it. It was definitely like the worst book that I read. Then the next least favorite book I read was also for the romance video, and it was Mile High, which is the first book in the City series, I think, and that is also romance. And we're following Stevie and Xanders is a hockey player, and Stevie is a flight attendant for like the team that he plays for. And Xanders has the like reputation of being a fuckboy, and for some reason he has to maintain it, but obviously they fall in love. And like this one I didn't like hate, but I was just really bored. And like I didn't like Xanders, but I did like Stevie. I liked her, but I was just very bored because it was just like the romance and I didn't care, and it was very long. It was way too long. I was just not having fun. And yeah, like compared to the previous book, it was way better. It was just, boring. So it was not fun. And yeah, definitely did not enjoy it. The next least favorite book was The Night Guest, and this one was horror. And in this one, we were following Ewan. I'm not sure if that's how you say the character's name, probably not. But she was always waking up like very tired, and also like her legs were very sore like every night. And so she decides to get like one of those watches that, count your steps. And one day when she wakes up, she sees that she walked like 40,000 steps during that night, and she has no idea like where she was, but the watch also has like a GPS tracker. So she sees that she went to a certain location, and as days go by, she sees that like she has been going to that same location every night, and like she's been clearly doing something, and that something is making her very tired. And like I was enjoying it. I wasn't loving it, but I was, enjoying it. I was a little creeped out. I was having a good time. But then when we got the reveal of like what she was doing, I absolutely hated it because there were so many other things that could have been like the reveal. There were so many better things that could have been the reveal, and like I really really hated it. So like the ending like absolutely just destroyed it for me, and yeah, it was not fun. It was just not fun. Then was How Much To, and this one was also a horror book, and we were following a bunch of contestants who were on a game, I guess, where they would have to say like how much they would have to be paid to do some terrible things. And I think the winner would be like the person who got to the end with like the least amount of money that they would have to be paid. But like the things that they had to do, because they did then have to do them, were just so horrible and like disgusting, and just like disgusting in the way that I didn't like, because there are some like types of disgusting that I like in books, and there are some that I don't. And this was like the type that I really don't like, and it was also just like not fun at all. It was just like very, violent for no reason, and very gross for no reason. And again, it was just really not fun. And yeah, I really did not like it. And the least favorite book that I have for this video is A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is book 3.5 in the ACOTAR series. And so in the series, like, we begin with following Farah, and she is a human, and she just gets caught up with the Fae. And in the first book, she's like trying to help some of the Fae like break a curse that was put on them. And then the story gets like way bigger than that, and I feel like everyone has read these books, but like if you haven't, I don't want to spoil anything. But this is like book 3.5, and the third book of the series was actually, my favorite. I had a lot of fun with it. And this one came like right after that. And in this one, they're basically like just preparing for a party, but like nothing is happening. And I have read that like nothing happened in this book. And like, yeah, I can confirm nothing interesting happens in this book. Like maybe if these are like your favorite characters ever, like if you love just, following them around in their day-to-day, you will like this. But like, I do like the characters, but not on that level. So I was very bored. There was like nothing to keep me interested in this book, and it was just like a chore to read it. And again, not fun. So now moving on to my most disappointing books. So first we have This Book Will Bury Me, which was actually one of my anticipated releases, was one of my, anticipated books for this year, and it was a mystery thriller. And we're following Jane, and she, after like the death of her father, she was, obviously grieving, and she met a group of people online that were very into like true crime and, trying to solve crimes, obviously. And they get involved in a big case where there were some college students that were murdered, and they like really start investigating that. And the story, this book is actually being told 1 year after like that happened, because Jane, at the end of everything, she was really not seen as, in a good light. So she wanted to like tell her side of the story. She wanted to set the record straight, and she was, telling us what really happened. And I like was somewhat interested in the mystery, but like not that much. But also this wasn't that much about the mystery. It was more like just about Jane and like her grief and like her relationship with these people that she met online. And I didn't care, honestly. And also like when we got to the reveal, I also didn't really like the reveal. So like I didn't hate it, but I definitely didn't love it either. And seeing as it was one of my anticipated books, I obviously was expecting to love it. So it was definitely disappointing that I didn't. The next book was Cold Eternity, which was also one of my anticipated books. And this one was horror sci-fi, and we're following Hallie, and she was running from an interplanetary political scandal, and she basically needed to find like a job to lay low, and she does find that job, and she basically has to stay on a spaceship where there are cryogenically frozen bodies from like a program that existed 100 years ago. And like the program ended, but like the bodies are still there, and someone just needs to be there to make sure that everything's functioning as it should. And there is a like AI host in the ship from when the program existed, and it's still like functional, but it's very creepy because it seems to know things about Hallie that it shouldn't, that like no one should know. And the guy who hired her has like a pretty shady side business, and there are like some creepy sounds that she hears in the ship. And like I like the premise and I was enjoying it when we were like hearing these creepy things and like the AI host, and I was creeped out, which is what I wanted. But then when we found out like what really was happening, it wasn't really that creepy anymore. And like the AI host was definitely like the creepiest part about it. And I also didn't particularly care about Hallie and like her past and the people that were coming for her. So like it was fine. And like the second half was definitely more like tense and action packed, but still I didn't love it and I just didn't care about like a lot of what was happening. So again, I expected to love it and I did not. And the final disappointing book was Blood of Dragons, which was book 4 of the Rainwild Chronicles and book 13, I think, of the Realm of the Elderlings series world, which is like, this is fantasy. And this is like the third, I think the third series within a series. So I'm not gonna be really talking much about it because I will spoil everything that comes before. But basically, like in the series, we follow a group of dragons and a group of people that basically go on a quest together to find an ancient city. And like the first 2 books, I really liked. And granted, these books are always very slow, which usually is not really my thing, but I really like the world and I was really liking the characters and I was also really liking the plot and like the magic and everything. So like the first 2 books I really liked. The second 2 books I didn't really like as much because they were like extremely slow, like nothing was happening. And this one specifically was very disappointing because when we got to the end of the book, like we didn't even get to see like what's everything was building towards. Like it just happened and they didn't even get to see it. So like that was super disappointing and like anticlimactic, and I was very sad about that because I really did like the start of the series and I just didn't really like the end of the series, which was again very disappointing. Now, moving on to better things and moving on to my favorite books of the year. And so the first one was Hunting Evil, which was book 10, I think, in the Robert Hunter series, which is a mystery thriller series where we follow Robert Hunter, who is a detective. And in this book, particularly, they were trying to like catch a killer that they had previously caught like in another book, but that he had escaped from prison. And like the previous book where this killer was caught had been my favorite before this one, but this one was like definitely even better than that because I had just like one complaint about that other book, and in this one I had no complaints and it was so fun. And like that killer, when he was running, he was really like toying with the police, especially with Hunter, and I was very stressed at times. It was definitely very thrilling and I loved like every second of reading this book. I loved being like stressed in this way. And like when I read the end of book 9, it was hinted that this would be book 10. So I was like immediately very excited to get into this one and it did not disappoint. It was super fun and yeah, I really, really loved it. Then the next book that I gave 5 stars was The Last Argument of Kings, which is the 3rd book in the First Law series, in the First Law world as well. And these books are, and it's fantasy, and these books are very hard to summarize. Every time I try to explain these books, I struggle. And so basically, like, we actually start following, like in the series, we start following Logan, and he is like running from his life from some creatures, and then he gets tangled up with a magus, or like who's like a sorcerer, and he needs something from Logan. And we also follow an inquisitor who is in the capital, and there are like enemies from the south, there are enemies from the north, and there are like wars and devils and magic and like some heroes from the past. And there's a lot happening, and there are a lot of like really amazing characters in the series. And like this book was the last in the first trilogy, so it was definitely stressful. There was a lot happening. And there were so many fight scenes, and there was so much like magic as well, and things that we learned about the magic. And again, like it was so like stressful, and I was so worried about the characters because I love these characters, even the ones that are not exactly good. They are like great characters. They're like so very like well written, and they're all so interesting, and the ending was definitely like bittersweet, but that is exactly what I expected from the series, and I feel like is what fit this series. Like like a very happy ending definitely wouldn't have been the ideal ending for this. So like I also love the ending. I thought it was perfect for what the series was, and yeah, I again love everything about this book. Then the next 5-star book was The Fourth Consort, which was actually one of my anticipated books for this year, and it was sci-fi, and we're following Dalton, who works for Unity, and Unity is an organization that claims to just want like peace in the universe, and they want like all the planets and all the intelligent life in all the planets to come together and work together, and that is what they claim they want, but they are not that nice. And Dalton is on a mission on a planet to, try to recruit those, like the aliens of that planet, to join Unity. But at the same time, Breaker is also there, and Breaker works for Assembly. And Assembly is actually like what Unity claims to be. And so Dalton and Breaker are both there like with the same goal of having like the dominant species of that planet join, their organization. So they are kind of like rivals, but they also then have to work together, because when they get like tangled up with the species of that planet, things go kind of wrong and they get in a lot of trouble, especially Dalton. He gets in a lot of trouble, but it's very funny at the same time, very like action packed, and I also like love to learn about these different species, both like the ones from that planet but also like Breaker's species, and like their costumes and their traditions, and like why the book was called The Fourth Consort was also very funny. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. Like I love the characters, I love the world, I love the different species, I love like the trials and tribulations that they had to go through, and like the friendship that was formed in this book like was so cute, and like the ending was like so much cuter than I expected, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I had so much fun, and like it was so fun, so action packed, and at the same time so like heartwarming, and yeah, it was great. I absolutely loved it. The next book is Bare Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, which was another one of my anticipated releases, and it is fantasy. And in this book, we follow 3 different women across 3 different time periods. So we have Maria in 1532, we have Charlotte in 1827, and we have Alice in 2019. And this is about vampires, and we are following these 3 different women as they become vampires, and as they adjust or don't adjust to becoming vampires. And we start following Maria, and she really wants to like get away from her village, and she thinks that the way to do that is to marry someone who will take her away. So she marries this guy, and he does take her away, and he takes her to like his family's house. And once she's there, she realizes that it's not all that she expected, and her husband is really not good, and his family is also not good, and her life is not what she was hoping it would be, is not like she's not having a good time. And then she meets a woman who changes her life forever. And with Alice in 2019, she is in college. She's also like trying to start over her life. And after a one-night stand, she, when she wakes up, she was also turned into a vampire. And she's now on like a quest to find the girl who turned her into a vampire. And Charlotte, we only really start following her in the second half, so I'm not going to spoil her story. But I absolutely love this book. Like the first half was more vibes than plot, but the second half was more, definitely had like a stronger plot. And once we got to Charlotte's story, like I was absolutely hooked. Like I was definitely enjoying it before, but I was missing like this, stronger plot. But when we got to the second half, I was obsessed. And I love to follow these characters. I love to, follow them, especially like the ones that we met in like a distant past. Like I love to follow them throughout the years, see like all the places that they went and all the people that they met and like all the mess that they got into, because like these characters, like they were definitely not perfect. They were very like toxic, and they were definitely like the villains in other people's stories, but I loved to follow them. And it was very like, it was quite sad that they all wanted, like they were all trying to change their lives for the better, and like that definitely did not happen. They all got like, if not worse, then at least like not better than they were before. So that was, quite sad. But seeing the way that they were trying to still make the best of their situation, or just, trying to make other people's lives worse, it was very entertaining. And yeah, I loved it. I love the characters, even if they were really not perfect. And yeah, absolutely loved the book. And our final book for this video is Morning Star, which is the third book in the Red Rising series, which is sci-fi. And so in the series, we follow Darrow, and in the world of the series, the society is divided into groups of people that are divided into colors, and the Golds are the ones at the top. They're the ones that have like all the power, and then there are a bunch of other colors, and at the bottom are the Reds, and Darrow is a Red. And in the first book, we see that he and his wife are both sentenced to death, and she does actually die, but Darrow is saved by some rebels, and they have this plan of basically turning Darrow into a Gold, because like they are physically different. And so he has to go through like these transformations in his body, and also he has to learn how to act like a Gold. And the goal is to have Darrow infiltrate the Golds and like destroy them from the inside. And book one was definitely like not my favorite, but I could see the potential of me loving it, because like in theory, this idea is something that I would absolutely love. So I definitely wanted to continue the series. And like the end of book two was absolutely crazy. And so in this book, we had to deal like with the aftermath of all of that. And like this book was crazy from start to finish. Like it was so intense. There were always like so many things happening at once, and there was so much action, and like there were crazy things and sad things happening throughout the whole book. And like something that I really did not expect happened like halfway through the book, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna go so wrong. And then like the last maybe 60 pages, maybe a little more, were an absolute roller coaster of emotions. Like I was going through every possible emotion in those pages. Like it was absolutely insane in the best way possible. And like this was the end of the initial trilogy. I think the next book that's gonna come out next year, which is the 7th, is gonna be the last. So I think this is gonna have 7 books, but initially it was a trilogy. So like this was the end of the like initial arc. So like it did have a satisfying ending, even though it was definitely not a perfect ending. But just like for the other book I mentioned, I did not really expect or really want like a just perfect happy ending for the series, because I think it would not fit. But it was like a great ending for this. And yeah, like it was crazy. I was hooked from page one. Like I was obsessed with this book. There was so much going on at all the time. Like it was so good. I think it might have been like my actual favorite from the entire year. I don't know if it's just because like it was like out of all these ones, it was the last that I read. It's like it's the freshest in my mind. I don't know like if that's the only reason why I feel like it was the best, or if it was actually the best. But yeah, I absolutely loved every second of reading this book. I mean, I also hated some seconds because they made me very sad, but like I loved it at the same time. You know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely perfect. Obviously 5 stars as well. And yeah, so those were my 5 least favorite, 3 most disappointing, and 5 favorite books of 2025. I obviously had some books I didn't love. I had one that I really hated, but overall I am happy with the books that I read this year, and I am very happy that I reached my goal of reading 100 books. I think I'm currently at 110. I am very happy with this, and this is my last video of the year. So I want to wish everyone a happy 2026. And yeah, that is everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time and next year. Bye!